Greetings, Taco Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you all yet again another The Flash episode review right here on Otaku Assemble Weekly, and as always, here to bring you the latest in this week's The Flash episode reviews. And this is my review of Season 2, Episode 3, entitled Family of Rogues. Now, general thoughts on this week's episode. I really enjoyed this week's episode, though not as much as I thought I would. And this is what I mean. I was super stoked going into this week's episode when I found out, number one, we were seeing the return of Captain Cold and Gold Glider, and I was like, oh man, two of my favorite, characters from last season. And then to top it all off, a special guest star appearance by Michael Ironside, one of my favorite actors. And I'm like, oh man, I was like, they got Michael Ironside playing Captain Cold's dad. This is going to be awesome. And then it didn't really pan out the way I thought it would. I'm not saying that Ironside's performance was bad. I'm not even saying that his character was written poorly, but I don't know. I guess I just brought too much extra baggage into the episode beforehand. My expectations might have been set a bit too high. So when I actually got down to see the episode, it was kind of like, that's it? Like oh man. But despite that though, number one, I love the change in scenario in this week's episode. The fact that we were dealing with, number one, no metahumans this time around. Which is the thing I love about Captain Cold and Gold Glider and even Heatwave, the fact that they are normal human villains, but they have weapons that are super powered. But not only are we dealing with them again, so number one, we aren't dealing with metahumans. Number two, we're not really dealing with the other Earth. Number three, the fact that it's a returning villain, one of my favorite returning villains. And then, of course, number four, the fact that it's the villains who need saving in this week's episode. Cold and his sister are the ones who need saving. So those four things going into it, I thought the deviation from what we got in the previous two episodes, it was much welcomed and much appreciated. So I dug that. So yeah, that's pretty much, that sums up my overall thoughts on the episode, just to generalize it. So let's dwell into some more stuff within the episode. So as I previously mentioned, pretty much the synopsis for this week's episode is that Cold's dad is out of prison and he's pulling a heist, and of course he wants Cold to work for him, but we find out about halfway through the episode he's using Cold's sister Lisa sort of as his leverage against Cold to make him agree to the heist. So he's blackmailing Cold, and throughout the episode, of course, Barry's reaching out to Cold, trying to figure out what's going on, and trying to get him to sort of let Barry help him in a sense. And then also, of course, Lisa's the one that goes to Barry's team, telling them the situation of what's going on and whatnot. So all of that stuff I thought was cool. Here's the thing though, and I'm going to touch back on Michael Ironside real quick, because here's the thing. Alright, number one, like I said, Ironside, he's a great character. The man can play a villain like nobody else's business. For those of you all who aren't in the know-how, this is the guy who is the voice of the Bruce Timm universe's dark side, okay? And I also love that they got Ironside to play Gold Glider's father in this episode when, for those of you all who watch Smallville, he played General Sam Lane, who was the dad to the actress who plays Lisa. So it's like they got that father-daughter team up again in a different series, in a different DC property. So I totally dug that. I liked it. I don't know if the writers intended for this, but when Barry goes undercover to infiltrate Lewis's and Leonard's crew, he uses the code name Sam. And I'm like, I wonder if that's a throwback to the fact that Ironside's name was Sam in Smallville. I don't know. I'm curious. But that was a funny coincidence, because I immediately caught that. I was like, huh. So going back to what I was saying about Ironside, like I said, maybe my expectations were too high, just because I know this guy's a great actor. I know he can play a villain like nobody's business, and he did a good job. Number one, I thought that the plan would be more elaborate. I thought, now granted, the stakes were high. True that, and I did like the backstory of how, even with Cole and his sister, their dad is still the definitive bad guy. I mean, he kills with no remorse whatsoever. He is cold, but not in the same sense that Leonard is. Leonard is cold in the sense that he's calculating. Lewis is cold in the sense that he just doesn't care. He's heartless in that sense. So, and I do like that dichotomy. So all of that worked. I just thought that we would get more from Ironside. Also, I thought that he might be reoccurring. That was the other thing too, because with the Snart family, they've been reoccurring characters, and even, first we got Cole, then he reoccurred, then we got Lisa, then she reoccurred. So I thought they'd keep that train going, but they didn't, because Lewis died at the end of the episode. So we won't be seeing him again, which was kind of that was a tad bit of a letdown. But as I mentioned before, I did like the story, and I did like where it left off, where between Leonard and Barry, we sort of got in this, they're still on opposite ends of the glass, if you will, when they were meeting in Iron Heights. So they still are on opposite sides, but we're starting to lay the groundwork for Leonard to become more of an anti-hero, which by the time we jump into Legends of Tomorrow, he's part of the team, so we know that at some point he either turns anti-hero or full-blown hero at some point. So I like that we started getting the groundwork for that right now. Lisa, of course, I love every episode she's in. She's a great character. I like what they keep doing with her and Cisco, this sort of, potential love interest, relationship, mutual interest, mutual intrigue thing that they're doing. I like that they keep that going, and I'm hoping that will continue the more she, appears in the series. Now, second thing I want to talk about is the storyline with Joe, because I didn't mention it in my review last week. The resurfacing of Francine, who is Joe's wife and Iris's mother. We finally got the backstory on Francine, and we finally found out what was going on with her, her showing up out of the blue, why Joe was concerned, why Joe's been distant and hesitant to tell Iris, and so on and so forth. My thoughts on that. I am glad that it ended the way it did, and that it played out the way it did, because I sort of jumped the shark. I made the assumption about halfway through the episode when Joe talks to Barry about it, and Barry's like, oh no, you need to tell Iris, you can talk to her, she'll, she's not a little girl anymore, she'll understand. And the whole time I'm thinking about season 1 Iris, where it's like, no matter what the reasoning behind it, no matter how reasonable it might have sound, you keeping secrets from her, she's going to flip her lid. She's just going to completely, she's going to show no lack of, she's going to show a complete lack of rationale. She's not going to try to see your side of the argument. She's just going to be completely irrational, irreasonable, immature, childish, what have you. Oh, you shouldn't have kept a secret from me, la 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 la. I'm tripped up, slipped, done, failed, wrapped up in my own feelings. I can't see the objective reasoning behind your decision. So on and so forth, blase. You guys know where I'm going with this, because I've talked about that a few times before. And I was surprised they didn't do that. They did not do that. Iris sat down with Joe, she heard the story, and she actually appealed to where he was coming from. She says, I don't blame you. I understand why you did what you did. And I was stunned. I was like, wow. wow. I was completely taken back. And I'll be honest with you guys, I thought we were going to be doing some backtracking with Iris, because the way the episode opened, where Iris put herself in jeopardy just to close on a story, and Barry tells her, it's like, no story is worth your life. And never mind that two guys were shooting at you. Never mind that you just jumped out of a window and you needed Barry to save you. They mentioned in the episode, it's like, oh, she took on this story and the danger that it had, and she was able to hold her own. No, she wasn't, because if she did, she wouldn't have called you. She wouldn't have needed you to save her when she jumped out of a fucking window. So, anyway, I was almost positive we were going to be doing season 1 Iris again in this episode, and I was completely shocked. I was surprised. That's not what we got, and I'm like, wow. So, once again, this is 3 straight episodes in a row where the writers have done Iris justice. And I'm kind of shocked. I'm like, wow. Granted, we still got, 21 episodes left in the season, so who knows? Season 1 Iris might resurface. But right now, they're doing pretty good with her. And I'm shocked. I'm as surprised as you guys. I'm stunned. I'm like, wow. Now, with that being said, where is the Francine storyline going to lead us? I have absolutely no clue, because here's the thing. I've been trying to wrap my brain around, what does Francine, what does that have to do? What is that going to contribute to the story? And I cannot figure it out. Granted, it is giving us some more backstory, some more exposition on the West family, and who knows, she might be the bridge, the window character. She might be the means through which we get introduced to Wally, because we know Wally is Iris's cousin. So, but granted, his last name is West, so I would assume he's the cousin on Joe's side of the family. But who knows? That might be what this is setting up for. This might be the beginning of that. I don't know yet. But I've been trying to figure out, what is this contributing to the story other than backstory? Maybe that's all it is. Maybe that's all it will be. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's too soon to say. And my final thoughts on the episode. Briefly, I want to touch on Jay, what he's been doing, where they pretty much found, towards the end of last week's episode, we found out that the breaches in between the 2 Earths, there were 52 breaches, which I found kind of funny. I was like, oh, 52, new 52, there's 52 DC comic book titles. I don't know if that's why they chose the number 52, because the minute they say, oh, there's 52 breaches, I was like, oh, really? Like the 52 titles on DC? Anyway, but, so we know that there are 52 breaches, and the biggest one is in Star Labs. So we found that out at the end of last week's episode. This week, we get Jay, and pretty much what his whole thing in this week's episode is finding a way to stabilize said breach so that he could return to Earth 2. And by episode end, he did manage to sustain it, but he chose not to return to Earth 2. He's going to stick around at least until they can capture Zoom, right? All right, cool. 3 things I want to mention, though, in regards to that whole what little of the Earth 2 storyline we got in this episode. Number 1, touching back on the whole Caitlyn Jay thing, I still don't like it. No, let's not do that. Once again, Ronnie's he's only been dead 6 months, and we're already setting this up. They continue to set it up in this week's episode. I said it last week. I don't like it. I'm not going to like it. No. I don't care for that. I don't care for that story at all. I don't care for that relationship. I don't care for that matchup. No, let's not go there, but it seems like that's what they're doing. Number 2, we finally, or at least we got some more information on what happened with Dr. Stein. Apparently, it seems that the separation between him and Ronnie with the whole Firestorm thing apparently is having side effects. It's having backlashes, and Stein's suffering from it. And based off of the preview we got for next week's episode, they have to find a new replacement for Ronnie to bind with Stein in order to keep the Firestorm thing in check. Which I was already speculating on that when I did my season 2 episode 1 review, because Ronnie died. So I'm like, And I had read articles, I had heard that they were going to get a new actor for Firestorm, but what confused me was the fact that isn't Ronnie supposed to be in Legends of Tomorrow? So I don't know how this whole thing is going to play out. I will say this though, we got a Brother Man as the new Firestorm coming next week. I'm digging this, okay? I understand, okay? I understand and I see it very plain that DC is trying really hard to diversify their character portfolio, especially, and the CW is really taking the leap on that because we're already seeing this, okay? Number one, we got a new Brother Man in Arrow. Apparently that's Mr. Terrific, which I'm like, that's who that is? I'm stoked now, and I'll talk about that more in my Arrow review tomorrow night, because you guys were commenting in the you were mentioning it in the comments, and I'm just reading the comments. They're like, Larry, that's Mr. Terrific. I went, that's who that is? I'm like, oh, dude, because Mr. Terrific, that's my boy. All right, so we're already getting Mr. Terrific and Arrow, and now we're getting, you know, another black character into this universe, and apparently he's going to be Ronnie's replacement within Firestorm. So far, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I like the idea. Let's just see how the young brother plays out. Let's see how they, you know, write this. Because, once again, I was against them killing off Ronnie. I thought it was too soon. I thought it was a repeat of what we had already gotten with Ronnie in season 1. I'm like, let's not do this again. But who knows? This new character might bring about some interesting ideas. Might, you know, even if when and if they bring Ronnie back, between Ronnie Stein and this new character, who knows what that could contribute. The possibilities, guys, I mean, this is all exciting stuff. So far, I do not see a downside to it. I don't see a negative thing in what they're setting up with that. So let's just wait and see what happens with that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is, once again, the big cliffhanger for this episode, which was the Earth 2 Harrison Wells arriving on Earth 1. Once again, my thoughts on this are the same as they were last week. I love Harrison Wells. He was my favorite character in season 1. The fact that they're bringing him back is awesome. And it's the Earth 2 Wells, so it totally makes sense within the continuity of this universe. Awesome. What are we going to get from him, though? We still don't know. I am not jumping to the assumption, though, that he is supposed to be Zoom. I'm not. I'm not jumping to that just yet. Because I know some people are, and I know that's how they're setting it up. That's how they're trying to make it seem in the series, that, oh, he's Zoom. I'm not falling for that just yet. Some of you guys in the comments on my last Flash review, some of you guys mentioned who you guys thought was Zoom, and I'm like, that's genius. That's goddamn brilliant. But I'm gonna be real with y'all. All right, so real quick, because I know I went over my time already, but real quick, bear with me, guys. All right, so check this out. Some of you guys mentioned in the comments of last week's review, you guys thought it was the Earth 2 Barry, right? Who's Zoom. And I'm like, all right, that's a cool possibility. All right, and that would be cool. Seeing Barry have to battle his doppelganger. All right, cool. This is what I think, though. What if it's Patty, Joe's new partner? What if it's her? And this is what I mean, and this is why I say this, because the girl came out of nowhere. Of course, she has, you know, this backstory. You know, she's so committed to the task force and whatnot. You know, she lost her dad to a metahuman, so on and so forth. All right, but here's the thing, though. Because remember, keep in mind, what made Harrison Wells so formidable as the Reverse Flash in season 1? The act of infiltration, the idea that he had set all of this up, that he was playing everyone the entire time, the fact that he was in the know-how from the beginning, he was right under everybody's nose and nobody had a clue. All right, now we got this new girl. She shows up out of nowhere. She has a backstory that Joe can relate to, because not only did she lose her dad to a metahuman, but it was one of the brothers that Joe lost his partner to. So that would immediately make Joe more trusting of her, knowing that they both were victimized by the same brothers, okay? Keep that in mind. Number 2, she's so dedicated to the task force, this, is, that, and the other. Her affinity for science, And her affinity for forensic work has already caught in Barry's attention, and we can already see them trying to set up some type of relationship / love interest thing between her and Barry. Once again, infiltration. Okay, now she's in good with Joe. Now she needs to get in good with Barry. All right. We know from what Jay told us, Zoom is manipulative. Zoom is he cannot be trusted. Not only is he a formidable speedster, but he's also a formidable adversary in the sense that, you know, Jay said he is always one step ahead. No matter how fast you are, no matter how smart you are, he is always one step ahead. So once again, keep this in mind too, ladies and gentlemen. Did Jay ever say that Zoom was a male? He never said that. He never said Zoom was a male. Never. Now, of course, yeah. I'm pretty sure Jay used like he, his, that sort of thing. But we never got confirmation on that. Once again, I'm speculating right here. But if in fact it turned out to be a huge twist and a huge shock that Patty was Zoom the entire time, remember, October 20th, 2015. I called it right here on the OAW YouTube channel. So anyway, that's going to wrap up The Flash episode review. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week. And in the comments below, guys, leave your thoughts on anything I discussed in this review. Leave your thoughts on this episode. Leave your thoughts on Michael Ironside and his portrayal in the episode. Leave your thoughts on Captain Cole, Gold Glider, any of the characters that we saw do their thing in this week's episode. Guys, leave your speculations. I want to hear what you guys are thinking. What's going through y'all heads? All right, because mine's running wild right now. No pun intended, since this is a Flash review, but mine's running wild. So guys, leave your speculations, predictions, expectations, all that jazz in the comments below. For those of you all new to this video and new to my channel, please, if you like this review, and please feel free to check out any of my other reviews. If you like my stuff, by all means, go ahead, subscribe to my channel. You'll be getting weekly The Flash episode reviews, as well as weekly Arrow episode reviews. And next week, I'll be kicking off my Supergirl episode review. So once again, you want to get all of that, please feel free, subscribe. If you like this vid, like it below. And if you guys have anybody you know who might dig my videos, by all means, feel free to share. Tomorrow, my Arrow episode review will be out, and let's see, so tomorrow, that's Wednesday. Thursday, you'll be getting my Daredevil Season 1 review, which I'm actually going to record right after I'm done with this, and Friday, you'll be getting my Supergirl's Expectations video. So, with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I'm signing off, and until next time, peace.